You got the drop on 50 Cent one time?
We thought we did until we got in there. Mike called us, told he was up there. I got up there. We got up there, we came in and strapped to they thigh, bullies on them, semis on them, magazine cartridges. I said, yeah, he ain't slipping.
Today's not the day.
Nah, 50 moved different,
And did 50
I'm glad
see
that
you?
didn't happen though, you see me? But he didn't know that's what we was on. We never approached it. I'm glad it never happened. Things worked out.
50 Cent taught us that, not trying to throw shots at him.
Sure.
But you could not do nothing to him because he had that real.
A lot of people see 50 Cent as one of the sharpest strategists in hip-hop, and Wack 100 found that out the hard way. Tony Yayo said it perfectly once. The G-Unit crew never had to check in with anybody, anywhere. They moved like a military unit across the country, tight, fearless, always on point. 50 even stamped that mindset himself, saying, I come from a place where you have to be ready. Don't get ready, you gotta be ready. And that mentality, it got seriously tested when Wack 100 tried to press him and walked straight into a reality check he didn't expect. This whole 50 Cent versus Wack 100 tension goes back years. During one of Wack's chaotic clubhouse sessions, he started talking spicy again, dropping a wild story about 50. He claimed this all happened when 50 was out in Los Angeles, still beefing with his former G-Unit member, The Game. At the time, Wack was managing The Game, so of course he inserted himself into the situation. But it didn't unfold the way he imagined, not even close. According to Wack, he decided to confront 50 at his hotel in LA, ready to show strength. But instead of 50 backing down, he allegedly made one of the smoothest chess moves Wack had ever witnessed. Wack admitted, I'll never forget the move that dude 50 pulled. He made a move on us. Here's how he tells it. Somebody tipped him off that 50 was staying at the SLS hotel, relaxing in the small bar area. So Wack pulled up deep, about 10 people strong, thinking he was about to apply pressure. But the second they stepped inside, the vibe changed fast. He said he could instantly feel something wasn't right. Then he looked around and understood why. 50 wasn't alone. He was surrounded by about 8 serious-looking men. Not average security either. Wack described them like Navy SEAL-level professionals. The way they moved? Precise, calculated, eyes scanning the room like it was a mission zone. In that moment, Wack realized he wasn't controlling anything. It almost looked like 50 had anticipated the whole thing. Some fans even believe 50 baited the situation, letting Wack come through just to make a statement without saying a word. There's also speculation that this may have been an attempt to pressure 50 over not checking in while in LA. Wack 100 is known for preaching about checking in whenever artists hit certain cities. He talks about it like it's standard street protocol. But this time, he might have learned that 50 Cent doesn't operate under anyone else's rulebook. Wack always frames checking in as respect, even claims he does it himself when he travels. Be down there Friday, he once said casually, like it's just part of the routine. But in real street culture, checking in isn't just a friendly heads up, it can be a power move. When a rapper lands in a city with heavy gang presence, there's often an expectation to tap in with certain street figures, basically to secure a hood pass. And that pass, it doesn't always come free. Some call it mutual respect, others call it what it looks like, extortion. Because if it's purely about love and respect, then why are there consequences when someone refuses? In cities like LA, some artists play along. They link up with local figures for what's essentially street insurance. But not everybody bows down. And 50 Cent, he's never been the type to ask permission or fold under pressure. And Wack 100 wasn't the only one who tried to test that.
This is why I always respected Eminem, 50, and that was with us. So Suge came, he had some Mexican niggas. Now we from New York. You ain't never seen a nigga with a tattoo on his forehead. Slice the cigar, and it's the shit about Suge. He liked the cigar, and he was trying to see what you gonna do. So Eminem, 50, everybody.
Even the infamous Suge Knight once tried to test 50 Cent's gangster. Yeah, Suge. The same man who ran Death Row Records like a real-life empire. The tension between those two traces all the way back to Dr. Dre. When Dre walked away from Death Row to build his own movement, that split hit Suge hard. Then Dre signed Eminem and later brought 50 Cent into Aftermath Entertainment. That move, Suge definitely took it personal. From that moment on, 50 and M basically inherited Dre's smoke, and Suge wasn't known for letting anything slide. If there was tension, he made sure you felt it. One of the wildest incidents happened during the filming of 50 Cent's In the Club video. Everything was smooth, the set was lit, energy high, until somebody suddenly yelled, "Suge Knight is here." Instantly, the atmosphere shifted. Panic, heads turning, security on edge. Suge reportedly pulled up deep, around 30 people with him. Some were rumored to have ties to a Mexican gang. They didn't show up to celebrate. The message was intimidation, classic Suge. No invite, maximum pressure, dramatic entrance that screamed, "I'm still that guy." And that wasn't even the peak of the madness. Fast forward to the 2004 Vibe Awards, what was supposed to be a glamorous night honoring Dr. Dre with a Lifetime Achievement Award, with Snoop Dogg and Quincy Jones right there, quickly spiraled into chaos. Out of nowhere, a man named Jimmy James Johnson approached Dre like he wanted an autograph. Instead, he threw a sucker punch right in front of everyone. One clean hit, and the entire venue exploded. People screamed, chairs flew, security scrambled. The crowd turned into a full-blown riot. Nearly 1,000 attendees rushed toward exits trying to escape the frenzy. Pure panic in the air. Right in the middle of that storm, Young Buck. Reports later claimed Buck had a knife and was seen swinging it during the brawl. Witnesses said Buck stabbed Johnson, allegedly trying to defend Dre after that cheap shot. Whether planned or reactionary, things escalated fast.
I say we were scared, but it was the Vibe Awards when we seen Suge Knight and Irv Gotti, and they walked past the trailer.
50 Cent didn't waste time taking precautions. As soon as he caught wind of what might be going down, he reportedly told his people to go out and buy a bunch of knives.
50 just look at James Cruz, so he just tapped James Cruz and said, "Yo, go buy 20 knives." Yeah, just go to the hardware store. It was about 20 to 15 of us, something like that. Suge Knight got like some crazy looking Compton-looking dudes with him, you know what I'm saying? So it just, you felt...
And Buck wasn't the only one who went after Johnson. Multiple people reportedly jumped him as the chaos unfolded. The entire situation turned into a serious legal nightmare. Arrests, investigations, statements flying everywhere. Everyone was pointing fingers, trying to figure out who sparked what. Young Buck ended up facing charges, and authorities didn't take it lightly. But here's the part that kept rumors alive. No one could definitively prove whether Suge Knight had orchestrated the whole situation. Still, the timing, the tension, way too suspicious for people to ignore.
Monster like this, the smallest, biggest security I ever know. Like his presence is big as fuck.
Later on, Tony Yayo reveals something interesting. Right after the fight broke out, he said he saw Suge Knight and Irv Gotti casually walking past G-Unit's trailer like nothing had happened. Calm, unbothered. That visual alone had alarm bells ringing. It felt like something had been simmering long before that punch ever connected. And trust, 50 Cent wasn't about to get caught lacking. The moment he sensed things might go left, he reportedly told his crew to hit nearby stores and grab knives, just in case. That's how thick the tension was that night. In the end, 50's instincts proved sharp once again. Survival mode always on, battle ready at any second. That's just how he's built. Eventually, Tony Yayo was hit with 3 years of probation in order to complete 80 hours of community service for his role in the chaos. But one thing became obvious real quick. 50 Cent's camp was never slipping. Hold up, y'all better stop this. That energy? That was real. 50 didn't just lean on hired security in suits. He kept street-tested soldiers around him, men who knew how to handle pressure without flinching. And right at the center of that circle was Monster, 50's trusted bodyguard and enforcer. If 50 was in the building, Monster wasn't far, always watching, always alert. He wasn't loud, didn't chase attention. He was the quiet presence in the background, the kind that made people think twice before stepping out of line. Calm, focused, and ready if things ever turned ugly. Monster kept his life low-key over the years, so there isn't a ton of public info about him, but his presence, that spoke volumes.
What up, 50?
Yo, what up, 50? What up, man? How are you? So, 50, real.
If you've watched 50's older videos or behind-the-scenes footage, you've probably seen Monster without even realizing it. Always in the cut, moving like a shadow, covering every angle. There's even a clip floating around of 50 Cent walking through an airport with Monster right beside him, subtly shielding his face from paparazzi cameras. You can tell he takes that job seriously. No small talk, no distractions, no smiling for photos, no posing. Strictly business. Whenever 50 hit a club to perform, Monster was already in position, eyes scanning the crowd, tracking movement, making sure nobody got too close or too comfortable. One of the most intense moments caught on camera was during that heated on-stage situation between 50 Cent and Trav. If you slow the footage down, you'll see Monster standing in the background, eyes locked on Trav the entire time.
Remember that shit that happened to Slow Bucks on that stage? InfoMind's documentary had footage from that Slow Bucks situation. He was highlighting niggas and shit.
Muscles tensed, posture ready. He wasn't there for decoration. He was on standby, prepared to react at the smallest hint of trouble. For years, Monster operated like 50's shadow, reading the room before the energy even shifted. But then, things took a messy turn. Rumors started circulating that 50 Cent allegedly had a video removed from the YouTube channel InfoMinds, and that's where the story gets complicated. InfoMinds, known for gritty street documentaries, reportedly released a detailed breakdown of 50's real security setup, with Monster front and center. The video allegedly painted him as the key figure, making sure nothing ever touched the boss. But it didn't stop there. The same upload supposedly connected 50 Cent to a controversial incident involving rapper Slow Bucks at Hot 97 Summer Jam in 2014. The night Slow Bucks was punched and had his chain taken right on stage. According to online chatter, InfoMinds laid out everything: who was present, how it unfolded, and how 50's team moved afterward. When that video dropped, it sparked serious debate across social media, and word is, 50 wasn't pleased. Reports claim he reached out directly to InfoMinds and had the video taken down. That move only fueled more questions. What exactly was said in that breakdown that needed to disappear? And Monster's loyalty? It wasn't just talk. Over the years, he reportedly faced multiple assault charges tied to situations where he physically stepped in to protect 50. He wasn't just hired security, he acted like a human shield. One of the most talked about cases happened in 2010 in Copenhagen, Denmark. According to the New York Daily News, Monster was charged with assault after allegedly attacking two photographers outside the St. Petri Hotel. Reports say paparazzi had been camped outside waiting for 50 Cent, snapping photos non-stop. At some point, things escalated. One of the photographers, Nicolo Ura, later told Radar Online that it spiraled in seconds. One of 50 Cent's bodyguards came out and told us to leave, he said. Next thing I knew, he grabbed my throat and tried to strangle me. He cut off my airway. I couldn't breathe. Then he took my camera and deleted all my photos. Ura said he was shaken badly and went straight to the hospital afterward to get checked out. And he made it clear he wasn't brushing it off. He said, "I will be going straight to the police station and complete whatever paperwork is necessary." Through it all, one thing stayed consistent. Monster's mission never changed: protect 50 Cent, no matter the cost.
Mysterious video that vanished from InfoMind's channel was about none other than 50 Cent.
Now that level of intensity brings up a serious question. Why does 50 Cent move with so much security? Some critics say it's overkill. They claim he hides behind police and bodyguards like he's paranoid. But others argue it's not fear, it's experience. Because if anyone understands what happens when you're unprepared, it's 50, especially after that infamous shooting that almost ended his life. And to really understand that mindset, you've got to rewind back to Queens, New York, back to one name that changed 50's story forever, Kenneth Supreme McGriff. In the 1980s, Supreme built a powerful crew known as the Supreme Team in the Jamaica section of Queens. Under his leadership, the organization grew hundreds deep, dominating the crack trade in the Baisley Park houses where he grew up. Reports say they were pulling in around $200,000 a day. Fast money, fast life. But that kind of run never lasts forever. In 1987, Supreme was sentenced to 12 years in prison. He was released on parole in 1994, but by the end of that same year, he was locked up again. It wasn't until 1997 that he cleared his convictions and attempted to start over. That's when he aligned himself with Ja Rule in the Murder Inc. camp, becoming one of their key protectors. He wasn't just a street figure anymore. He was muscle behind one of the hottest labels in hip-hop. At that time, Supreme and 50 Cent actually had a decent relationship. They were from the same side of Queens, so there was mutual respect in the beginning. But 50 wasn't a superstar yet. He was hungry, frustrated, convinced the industry was overlooking him. So instead of playing it safe, he chose disruption. That's when he dropped the now infamous track, How to Rob, taking shots at nearly the entire rap game. It was bold, calculated, a marketing move disguised as chaos, and it worked. How to Rob got people talking instantly. 50 name-dropped almost every major rapper out at the time, stirring controversy just enough to build buzz around his project. But that same move sparked one of the most explosive beefs in hip-hop history, 50 Cent versus Ja Rule. According to 50, the real tension started when his friend Troy allegedly robbed Ja Rule. Later, when 50 and Ja crossed paths at a club, 50 tried to smooth things over, but Ja wasn't buying it. He believed 50 had involvement. Ja Rule later confirmed the robbery did happen, but maintained he never saw 50 with the person responsible. "I didn't even know you knew this dude," Ja said, framing it as a misunderstanding. That's when Supreme stepped in.
That's what Info Minds did. He would show pictures of 50 Cent, different pictures of 50 Cent in regular settings, right? Until Info Minds highlighted this guy that was in like every picture.
He advised 50 to fall back and stop provoking Ja Rule. And since Supreme was someone 50 once respected, he eased up, temporarily. But 50 wasn't finished. He kept dissing Ja Rule in records, keeping the tension alive. Every verse felt like another jab. Then, tragedy struck. In 1999, both 50 and Supreme were shaken by the death of their mutual friend, Black Just. The backstory is messy. Rapper E Moneybags had reportedly given Supreme a deposit for a car. When E Money wanted his money returned, Supreme allegedly refused. Soon after, E Moneybags reportedly opened fire on Supreme's vehicle. Black Just was hit twice, including a shot through his thigh. What happened next remains heavily discussed. Instead of heading straight to the hospital, which was reportedly nearby, Supreme allegedly drove back to the neighborhood first and asked someone else to take Just later. That delay proved fatal. Black Just didn't survive. From that point on, E Moneybags became a marked man. Meanwhile, the friction between 50 Cent and Ja Rule kept escalating. Supreme continued backing Ja, urging 50 to stop the public disses. But 50 felt slighted. In his eyes, Supreme was choosing sides. And it didn't help that Supreme reportedly didn't believe 50 had superstar potential. That doubt? That probably fueled 50 even more. In his eyes, Ja Rule was the prize, the hitmaker, the investment, the one worth protecting. But 50 Cent, he was never built to play second to anybody. Everything boiled over when Ja Rule and 50 ended up performing at the same club. The energy was already tense, and then it flipped. A fight broke out, chaos everywhere. And when it was over, 50 walked out holding Ja Rule's chain. And he didn't just stash it, He paraded it like a championship belt in the Life's on the Line video. That was a statement, loud and clear. Naturally, Ja Rule went straight back to Kenneth Supreme McGriff to get his chain returned. And that's when the friction between 50 and Supreme officially turned into war. By this stage, Supreme had had enough. From his perspective, 50 was damaging the brand of one of his biggest stars. And this wasn't the first time he'd had to step in and smooth things over. But 50, he wasn't easing up. If anything, he was doubling down.
Supreme, dude, you know the old school shit. You know what 50 did? Yeah, my nigga.
Do it back, yeah.
Yeah, my nigga.
Oh, you know what the block did?
Yeah, that's what
He advised 50 to fall back and stop provoking Ja Rule. And since Supreme was someone 50 once respected, he eased up, temporarily. But 50 wasn't finished. He kept dissing Ja Rule in records, keeping the tension alive. Every verse felt like another jab. Then, tragedy struck. In 1999, both 50 and Supreme were shaken by the death of their mutual friend, Black Just. The backstory is messy. Rapper E Money Bags had reportedly given Supreme a deposit for a car. When E Money wanted his money returned, Supreme allegedly refused. Soon after, E Money Bags reportedly opened fire on Supreme's vehicle. Black Just was hit twice, including a shot through his thigh. What happened next remains heavily discussed. Instead of heading straight to the hospital, which was reportedly nearby, Supreme allegedly drove back to the neighborhood first and asked someone else to take Just later. That delay proved fatal. Black Just didn't survive. From that point on, E Money Bags became a marked man. Meanwhile, the friction between 50 Cent and Ja Rule kept escalating. Supreme continued backing Ja, urging 50 to stop the public disses. But 50 felt slighted. In his eyes, Supreme was choosing sides. And it didn't help that Supreme reportedly didn't believe 50 had superstar potential. That doubt? That probably fueled 50 even more. In his eyes, Ja Rule was the prize, the hitmaker, the investment, the one worth protecting. But 50 Cent? He was never built to play second to anybody. Everything boiled over when Ja Rule and 50 ended up performing at the same club. The energy was already tense, and then it flipped. A fight broke out, chaos everywhere. And when it was over, 50 walked out holding Ja Rule's chain. And he didn't just stash it, he paraded it like a championship belt in the Life's on the Line video. That was a statement, loud and clear. Naturally, Ja Rule went straight back to Kenneth Supreme McGriff to get his chain returned. And that's when the friction between 50 and Supreme officially turned into war. By this stage, Supreme had had enough. From his perspective, 50 was damaging the brand of one of his biggest stars. And this wasn't the first time he'd had to step in and smooth things over. But 50? He wasn't easing up. If anything, he was doubling down.
He made it clear he was coming for Murder Inc. and everything tied to it. With every diss, every move, the distance between him and Supreme grew wider. Tony Yayo later shared details about one of their final run-ins, back when things were truly unraveling. According to Yayo, 50 looked Supreme dead in the eye and made it obvious he wasn't afraid, not even slightly. He wasn't about to be pressed, no matter how powerful someone's street reputation was. That moment said everything. 50 wasn't moving like an up-and-coming artist anymore. He was stepping like someone ready for whatever came next. And then he turned the pressure up even higher. 50 began aligning himself with people Supreme already had serious issues with. E Money Bags, Big Nose Troy, and Green Eyed Born, all individuals who had tension with Supreme. That wasn't accidental, that was strategic. 50 wasn't siding with power, he was challenging it. Then came the record that shifted everything, Ghetto Quran. When that track leaked and eventually landed in Supreme's hands, the fallout was immediate. In the lyrics, 50 directly mentioned Supreme and referenced elements of his crew's past. 50 later framed it as a reflection of the streets that shaped him, but Supreme didn't see tribute, he saw exposure. To him, it felt like private names and histories were being broadcast publicly. And what made it more complicated? Other rappers had referenced Supreme before without issue. He'd even appreciated the acknowledgement at times. But when it came from 50, it hit different. It felt personal, like a line had been crossed that couldn't be undone. Then, just when tensions were already sky high, Supreme was nearly killed at a gas station. Shots were fired. He survived, barely. From that point on, Supreme reportedly believed 50 Cent was behind it. And that's when things allegedly turned darker. According to later claims, Supreme decided to remove anyone he saw as a threat, starting with 50. Reports suggested he hired Daryl Homo Baum, a former associate of Mike Tyson, to handle it. The alleged payout? Significant. Then came May 24.
50 Cent was outside his grandmother's house. His son was inside. His grandmother was in the front yard. As 50 got into the back seat of a car, another vehicle pulled up beside him. A man approached the window. 9 shots were fired from a 9mm handgun. And that moment would change hip-hop history forever. 9 brutal shots, the kind that rewrite history. 50 Cent was hit in the hand, arm, hip, both legs, chest, and even the left cheek. One bullet tore straight through his face, shattering his jaw. Just inches higher, and doctors say he likely wouldn't have survived. It was nothing short of a miracle. After 3 long weeks in the hospital and multiple surgeries, 50 pulled through. Doctors weren't optimistic at first. The damage was severe. But somehow, he survived, scarred, wired shut, and forever changed. That recovery, it became one of the most legendary comeback stories in hip-hop. His jaw had to be wired closed, forcing him to relearn how to speak clearly. But quitting wasn't an option. He taught himself how to rap again. Same hunger, same edge, maybe even sharper than before. 3 years later, he dropped Many Men, a record that gave listeners a raw glimpse into that day. In the lyrics, 50 pointed to Daryl Homo Baum as the shooter. But by the time that track hit the streets, Baum was already dead, killed in what many believed was retaliation. There's no evidence tying 50 to that incident. Some call it fate, others call it karma. In the streets, people just call it the cycle. Either way, it added another chilling chapter to 50's story. And while 50 survived, not everyone connected to that circle did. In July 2001, E Moneybags was found shot multiple times inside his Lincoln Navigator. 2 main theories circulated. Some believed it was revenge for the death of Black Just. Others claimed it was tied to allegations that he had robbed Irv Gotti and Ja Rule. Whatever the motive, the violence didn't slow down. Just 3 months later, Big Nose Troy was also killed, tightening scrutiny around Kenneth Supreme McGriff even further. By then, this wasn't about rap beef anymore. It had escalated far beyond music. Eventually, law enforcement built a case against Supreme. In 2002, he was arrested on homicide-related charges. During court proceedings, Supreme reportedly referenced Ghetto Quran again, suggesting the song showed 50 knew too much.
When investigators questioned 50 about the meaning behind his lyrics, he didn't panic or retract anything. His response? Listen to the record. Short, direct, no extra commentary. Then, in 2003, federal authorities shifted focus to Murder, Inc. records. Irv Gotti, the label's founder, came under investigation. Prosecutors accused him of laundering money for Supreme McGriff. By 2005, Gotti was facing serious federal charges. In the end, Irv Gotti beat the case. The jury found him not guilty on all counts. Supreme wasn't as fortunate. He was convicted in federal court on charges including narcotics trafficking, racketeering, and homicide, marking the fall of one of Queens' most feared street figures. And through all of it, 50 Cent survived. Not just alive, but wealthy, influential, and untouchable in the music industry. 9 bullets couldn't silence him. If anything, they made him bigger.
With hitman testimony, text messages, and even video evidence all stacked against him, prosecutors proved that Supreme McGriff had forked over $50,000 to have his rivals taken out. The case? Bulletproof. Once the feds moved in, everything Supreme and Irv Gotti owned was seized. Stripped of assets, Supreme couldn't even hire his own lawyer and had to settle for a court-appointed one. Then came the final blow. On April 9, 2007, Supreme McGriff was officially sentenced to life in prison. The same streets that had made him legendary ended up taking everything from him. Meanwhile, 50 Cent's life was forever changed, and not just physically. That shooting didn't just leave scars, it transformed his entire image. Before those 9 bullets, he was just another hungry rapper from Queens. After surviving and bouncing back stronger than ever, he became the living definition of resilience and power. The man literally turned pain into profit, trauma into triumph. That moment didn't just reshape 50's career, it shook the entire hip-hop culture. No one had ever seen a comeback like that. So when you see 50 rolling with heavy security now, it all makes sense. After everything he went through, keeping his circle tight isn't paranoia, it's smart strategy. What do you think? Was 50 right to keep his squad and his security so tight? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, share this insane story, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next.